Hello and welcome. My name is Maria and this is Maria's Heart Conversations. I am Maria and my guest today is Tamra.
Hello.
In this video we will talk about healing modalities that have helped us the most. I will also be asking some questions that will help us to get to know our guest and me better. Take what resonates and leave the rest. So the first question is going to be, how do we know each other?
Well, we met, from what I remember, the first time that I met you was at a sushi restaurant when me and my husband came and had dinner with you and your partner.
Yes.
From what I can remember. And you were saying it was 2022?
Yeah, it was in 2022 when me and Preston had moved back to Chico, where we live.
Right.
And yeah, so we met through, so my boyfriend and her husband have been friends for many, many years. And so we both met through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And let's see. Okay, so we're going to start off more of the questions. What were you like as a young child? You can use a word to describe yourself. An example would be curious, playful, shy, loud, smart.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that this morning. I was a quiet kid. According to my mother, I was quiet ever since I was a baby. I think really introverted and kind of serious. From a very young age, I remember in preschool actually, feeling like the preschool I went to had animals there. They had like a snake and they had, bunnies and all this kind of stuff. And I was much more interested in spending time with the animals than I was with the other people. So, quiet, introverted, very much more like natural world and, non-human animal oriented. Yeah. How about you?
So I, like you, was pretty shy and quiet. Very playful too. I have an older brother, and so I would follow him around.
Right.
Wanted to be a boy. Wanted to be, in a way.
Yeah.
Wanted to be like my brother.
Like
is
him,
what I mean.
right.
So it's very playful. Usually stuck to just having a couple friends, but very observational and reserved.
Sure. Yeah.
Usually
Kind
in
of
my
sat back
environment.
and watched.
Yeah, that's how I would define myself. But if I felt really comfortable, that's when I would talk more.
Sure.
I could be loud more. I could be more playful if I was very comfortable in the environment. But overall, I'd say if I didn't know you, I was pretty quiet and reserved. But very smart. I was taking it all in.
Sure, right. You were observing. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So our next one is, did you grow up in a household where mental health or therapy of any kind was talked about?
Yeah. It really wasn't a thing in my family until I was in my teens. Not that there wasn't mental health issues. Both of my parents have struggled with mental health issues. My mother has been diagnosed. My father has not addressed it, basically. But when I was a teenager, in my early teens, my mom started going to therapy. And she was very, we knew that she was going. So I would say, really at that point is when I became very aware of it. Although it wasn't until later in my life that I kind of thought about my own mental state and emotional state and all that kind of thing. So yeah, really just when I was a little bit older. But otherwise not. And honestly now, my mother and I talk about our emotions and our mental health very easily. So it's kind of, you know, it's healthier now, I would say.
Yes,
Mhm.
and I would say that's pretty amazing to be able to grow up and finally be able to talk about emotions, which is totally normal. And
Right.
mental health, it's totally normal to
Yeah.
talk about.
Well, and the
right?
thing is too is, I mean, when I was a young child, I don't recall receiving any guidance in the whatsoever about emotions, or what do you do with your anger, or what do you do if you feel this way. So you know, it's been good that my mom and I can talk about it now. Although I wish I had more, more guidance earlier, but it's good
Of
now.
course, and it shows both of your growth as well, which is really awesome. Yeah.
How was your? I mean.
Yeah. So in my household, mental health was never mentioned. I don't think my parents even had the verbiage of that. I grew up, so I was born in the 80s, and then, so from like 80s, 90s, still a kid mostly. Mental health it wasn't talked about like it's talked about today, right? And I think we're growing up, at least the younger generations, with therapy being a positive thing. In my counseling was never talked about, or if you went to a counselor, you're kind of seen like you're crazy. But to me, like, that's the point, to go to a counselor to help to cure your craziness, or like to cure it, right? And so so mental health wasn't talked about. My mom clearly developed a severe mental illness from when I was about 9 is when it started, and so they had no context though of mental health. What's that? Like, and then what was I gonna say? So wasn't talked about. I wish it was. Emotions also weren't talked about. And I think it seems like a lot of people grew up in a lot of environments where, with their parents not explaining emotions,
people our age, for sure.
Either stuffing them down, or if you see an expression of anger, it's probably not a healthy one. So it's nice to grow up and learn, like, oh, emotions are healthy. They're trying to tell us something. We all have emotional guidance systems. We're all emotional humans.
It's okay.
It's kind of like, oh, it's a relief of like, oh, it's normal.
For sure.
Which is great, right? And then, okay, so let's move on to the next question. What would you say to your 7-year-old self? Any words of encouragement, or?
So 7 was kind of, I don't know how much we want to dive into this.
It's up to you.
7 was an interesting year for me. It was the year that my mother took me out of public school, and the beginning of like a short period of homeschooling, but then it ended up being unschooling, which was absolutely no structured education at all. And again, this was kind of tied into her mental health situation. But that was a whole nother journey and a whole nother thing. But at 7, I was okay, is the thing. It's like 7 was when things started to kind of go sideways a little bit for me. And not that, I'm okay now, it's fine. But I think if I could go back and talk to myself then, I would kind of just tell her to, hang on, hang in there. I mean, obviously, I think, let her know that it's all going to be okay. At that age, I was not, I didn't know that things could, difficult, really. I was pretty happy. You know, I think, yeah, just let her know, you hang in there, it'll get better. And that there would come a time when I was more in a position as an adult to take care of that part of myself. You know what I mean? That there will be a time when you don't have to rely on these unreliable people, because I will be able to be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
What about you?
Yeah, so similar to you in the sense when I was 7, I think I was relatively okay at that age. Things didn't get really hard until I was about 9 and a half. So what I would tell her at 7, I would tell her to play, to really enjoy this moment right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, at 7, there was already dysfunction in the family, but it wasn't
Right.
severe where you knew something was really wrong. I would just say play with her brother, like enjoy, climb the
it.
trees,
Be a
do
kid.
more of that.
Yeah.
Be a kid, and give her a hug, tell her, encourage her, just tell her that she's loved and seen. Yeah, and just enjoy this moment, and things will turn out okay in the end.
Right.
Once you get older as an
Come
adult,
around.
you'll heal a lot of stuff that you end up encountering.
So no, I was just thinking, like, you know,
yeah,
it's gonna get hard, but then it'll get
better. Yeah,
better.
I hear you. Yeah, but
the
stay
whole,
here.
it's the whole ride, you know.
Okay, our next question. Do you remember about how old you were when you first started to seek out or learn about healing modalities or therapy of any kind? It could be searching on the internet, reading a book, or talking to a psychologist.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I kind of became aware of therapy when my mom started going when I was in my early teens. I mean, I would say, of course, at that point, I wasn't thinking about, like, do I need therapy? You know what I mean? I was just myself. But that was when I was first introduced to it, and then I didn't start going to therapy or seek out therapy for myself until I was in my early 30s. So, you know, honestly, and I know you have a question about this later, but I was really doing okay, I would say, you know, but I was doing okay.
Yeah.
It, maybe because I was unaware of what was going on inside, but I was not struggling with things. I was just kind of going about my life. It was all very predictable at that point, you know, between, well, yeah, my late teens and early 30s. At no point did I think, oh, I should really go talk to somebody, because I wasn't struggling, because everything was very predictable and stable and all that kind of stuff, and there were no challenges, and there was nothing to shake up my world. But yeah, so early 30s is when I started going for myself. Yeah.
Awesome.
Have you?
How about me?
Yeah.
So I have an interesting story. I don't know how common this is. So from, like I was saying before, so when I was about 9 and a half is when my mom's mental health started to come into question, and she started struggling mentally. And then by like 12, she was out of the house, and she ended up getting diagnosed with schizophrenia. So but it developed kind of slowly, and but then it progressed, and it got really serious. So I already knew around 12 to 13, like during that stage, like something's really wrong here. Don't know quite what it is. I don't understand it all. It's very confusing, scary. So I was probably around 12, 13 in middle school
Mhm.
where I went to the counselor that they had. They had one therapist, and she was nice. I think there was just something in me was like, I need to talk to somebody.
You sought her out yourself.
I sought her out myself, and you know, I struggled, and around that same time though, I struggled. There was times I'd struggle with severe depression, insomnia, where I couldn't sleep. So I had like these, maybe it was like a couple weeks at a time where it would really get tough for me. So I think because of those symptoms, and I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I knew like, okay, there's all these issues at home, all these challenges. I want to talk to somebody.
It's like really, you know,
Yeah.
mature for you at that age. That's
Which
really
is
incredible.
crazy, and thank you, because I had that pointed out by later on when at 14 when I got put in foster care with my sister. I had that pointed out by a social worker that was like, I think he was a counselor / social worker, and he said, you already signed yourself up for a counselor,
Yeah.
and like no one told me about it. I'm like, yeah. And I don't think I wouldn't say everything that was happening at home
Mhm.
to the counselor, but I did seek out. So I was about 12, 13 when I started talking to the counselor at school, and I would get a little bit of comfort, but I wasn't saying all the things that could get me removed from the home. Right. And so, and then I even remember I think it was when I was 13, asking my dad, can I get a counselor at the mental health clinic in Willows?
Yeah.
And I don't think he realized what it was really. And he's like, for some reason, you know, like he said yes. He was like, sure.
Would
like,
that have been unusual for him? Like,
it would have been very unusual, and if he realized what a counselor was and what I was going to share in the future, he wouldn't have been on board, right? So I think he maybe, and I don't remember how I like framed it. Maybe I said it was good for school, and maybe he would have been like, okay, yeah, sure.
Right.
So I ended up signing up with a counselor at the mental health clinic as well, and so I would go regularly, and I remember even walking from school, after school, walking. Same scenario, I wasn't telling her all the things. I would tell her minor things, like, oh, me and my sister got in an argument, or she takes my things, things like that, right?
Was it because you knew that the other stuff was like a real problem?
Yeah, I kind of knew that if I said more, that we'd probably be taken out of the house.
Yeah. And
I don't think I was quite ready. Like, I didn't want the abuse that was happening at home to happen, but I wasn't quite ready to just be like, what's gonna happen to us?
Sure.
Or get in trouble by my dad.
Yeah.
If we don't get taken out of the house, but I told all that stuff, right?
Totally.
So, okay, so back to the question. So I was about 12, 13 when I first started reaching out for help in a way. Not knowing all the words or all the psychology verbiage, of course. But it was like, it's almost like my own higher self or something was urging me like, make these connections
Take
now.
care of yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
So that's when I first started. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Do you remember if there was a big challenging moment in your life that caused you to look for answers?
Yes.
Help healing?
Yes. Like I said, I had many years of predictability and stability in my life. Before I came to Chico, right? I came to Chico for grad school in 2015. And it shook up my life like crazy. It was just a whole new world for me. I had been living in a small town for, the previous 12 years, something like that. And it was like I came to Chico and just like the world opened up for me. And my reactions to that were both great because there was a lot of growth involved, and new experiences, and opportunities to be brave and all that kind of stuff. But some of my reactions and behaviors at that time were also not healthy. Eventually my previous marriage fell apart, and we got a divorce, and it was really like within that context that I was struggling so much with like choices, or what's going on. I mean, like, who am I? It was almost like coming to Chico. I went through some sort of like emotional and mental like puberty, so to speak. Like, I finally was like, okay, what's all this going on? So it was in an effort to figure out, basically why I was doing the things I was doing, what I wanted out of my life now that I had options. And just trying to deal with this crazy period of growth. It was like from 2015 to maybe 2017. I was having so many new experiences and just changing so dramatically and so fast that I definitely needed some help in understanding myself and what was going on and trying to, make healthier decisions. Yeah. So I was in my early 30s then. 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How about
Thank you. Yeah.
When did you, or what prompted you? I mean, I guess you already kind of.
I guess I kind of answered the question already. But I also can talk about other times I've seeked out therapy.
Yeah.
So when I was 19, I was going through a really hard time, not being able to sleep, the insomnia. And it was the third semester. I think it was third or fourth semester in going to Chico State. And it was the first week of starting out, and I already was not able to sleep that week, and I was just falling apart, because if anyone's ever struggled with insomnia, it's really hard. And so I ended up just taking a break that semester, which was great. I was always so academic driven, and that was really hard for me to make that decision.
Sure.
So I was like, am I a failure? Like, am I gonna come back? What's going on with me? So I didn't know why I was experiencing the insomnia. So, but I took a break from Chico State that semester. It was great. I think I ended up going and getting sleeping pills prescribed. And then I definitely was able to start sleeping again. I think once I was like, okay, I don't have school to worry about. Let me get healthier. I just started feeling a little bit better, and during those months, I searched out a lot. I learned about Buddhism. I grabbed a bunch of books on Buddhism. I read the Celestine Prophecy, which is a really good one. It was like I was seeking answers to what was happening to me. And in that, I did come across some really helpful things. With Buddhism, I love it. Still to this day, I love a lot of Buddhism philosophy. What else? I even I wrote a bunch of poetry. I journaled a lot, which really helped me. And then I read a lot of my poems at an open mic, which is really brave of me, because I remember being so nervous, but I did it anyways. I'm like, that, and I think, I'm trying to think if I actually went to therapists. I don't remember if I went to an actual therapist, but the journaling was therapy, the reading the books, just resting, taking a break from school.
Right. Yeah. Recognizing that you needed that break in the first place.
Well. Yeah. So I did all those things. Yeah. Okay, so then our next question. Okay, our next question is, what has been the most helpful healing therapy modality? Walk us through what the healing therapy is and how it has helped you.
Yeah, so, okay. I have been exposed and tried a lot of different healing approaches, therapy approaches. I did dialectical behavioral therapy for a while, cognitive behavioral therapy, just plain old talking, to a therapist. And then maybe 2 years ago, something like that, I had a therapist introduce me to IFS, which is Internal Family Systems. It was created by Dr. Richard Schwartz. And that one finally really stuck for me. The DBT and the CBT made sense, kind of, and some of the exercises were helpful, but it was difficult for me to keep it going. But the IFS, when it was explained to me, it was like a light bulb went on, and it has been something that I've been able to incorporate into my daily life, multiple times, frequently throughout the day. I think about some aspect of IFS, just going along with, my life. So the central idea with internal family systems is that everybody has parts of themselves which can be described as a sub-personality. And it's not that it's not that people have multiple personalities in a, pathological sense. It's that we have these parts of ourselves that come along with certain worldviews and emotions, feelings, and reactions when we are presented with particular situations. So say you have, I have a part that gets ragefully angry. And she is a protector. She tries to protect me. But, in the meantime, or in the process of protecting me, she would be completely fine with burning the entire world down. This part would have developed at some point earlier in my life, because I needed her, right? And it's typically when you are a child, because when you're a child, you don't have other means of taking care of yourself necessarily. If you don't have an adult that is going to step in and help you with your emotions or help you with difficult situations, then you will develop these really strong parts that are doing whatever it is that they need to do, whatever they can, to keep you safe or manage your behavior, things like that. So there are different types of parts. You have what are called exiles, which are often very young, very vulnerable, hurt parts. So, if you had experiences of abuse as a child, physical or emotional, any, sexual abuse, anything like that, you might have kind of sent those experiences and those feelings into a part of yourself that then holds on to that, so that maybe you don't have to so much. But these parts, because they feel all this pain and shame and all of these negative emotions about themselves, your, system will sometimes try to exile them, push them away, right? You don't want to embody that part. You don't want to feel the emotions that that part is feeling. So you do whatever you need to do to, I think of it as just kind of shoving them in a corner, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to be that scared, vulnerable child, because obviously it hurts. So, get away. And then you have protectors. Mm-hmm. So protectors can be managers or firefighters. and obviously they're there to protect you. Managers are parts that kind of operate in the background on a daily basis. It would be a part that makes sure that you get to work on time. It would be a part that maybe shames you if you feel like you're, overeating, or a part that somehow keeps you from maintaining your boundaries in order to not cause problems, right? So like, say you're in a relationship with somebody who is continuously disrespecting your boundaries, and this part might, for the sake of the relationship, even if it's not healthy, this part might keep you from speaking up for yourself, right? Because for your younger self, or for these exiles inside of you, it is preferable to have someone to have someone in your life, to have a relationship, even if it's not healthy, right? Because they're children, they're scared, they don't want to be alone. So the managers, I think of it as kind of just keep you on an even keel. They try to keep you from causing, a problem. And they make sure that you are doing what they think you need to do. So then the firefighters are parts that come out when your managers have not been able to keep everything chill, right? So this rageful part that I was talking about is a firefighter. And she comes out in conflicts when all of my managers have not been able to take care of the situation. So say, the manager that avoids conflict, the manager that, is like, hey, maybe you should just walk away and leave this argument because it's not going anywhere good. If I'm not able to do that, and there's other situations as well, but if I'm not able to avoid conflict, then the firefighter comes out because she's like, okay, we're shutting this down right now. This isn't happening. It's dangerous, and I mean dangerous in an emotional sense. And her goal is to push the threat away. And the way that she does that is with anger and honestly a complete disregard for anyone else, or even the well-being of the relationship that is in conflict. You can have firefighters that cause you to overeat, right? So if your managers say, you've had a really stressful day at work because you were not able to meet your deadline, right? Managers are really into deadlines. Maybe your boss yelled at you or something like that. Then you get home and you might have a firefighter that is going to try to soothe you by overeating. There's all kinds of roles that these protectors take on. The problem occurs with parts because everybody has parts. And I wanted to say too, I kind of had some issues with the whole subpersonalities thing. I found that I was trying to but physically, where are they? Like, what does this even mean? What's going on in my head, in my system, as they would call it? And then I actually watched a video of an IFS practitioner talking about how he viewed it, and he was saying that they're basically neural systems, right? So it's that this. I like to think of it as kind of like a cluster of understandings and responses and strategies that lights up in certain situations, so that I think of it as a neural network. But it's easy to say parts, and I do assign, gender. Like I said, the rageful part is a she. Because it can be also useful to have some kind of a visual representation in your head, right? Like I see this part The angry part has a like a Wolverine.
Mhm.
You know what those creatures are, and they are just like ferocious things. So in my head, she's a Wolverine. But yeah, neural networks is how I think of it. So yeah, the problem comes with parts when you have parts that have reactions that are no longer useful for you, and this happens usually when you grow up and maybe you are now in a healthier relationship, or you're just out of a situation that required your parts to protect you. Or for me, a really frequent challenge is that I have parts that are polarized, which means this part says you should do this, and this part says you should do this. And I get stuck in between, not being able to really know what to do. And sometimes parts aren't aware of each other, and sometimes they are, so they're not communicating with each other, and regardless. The issue is that your parts, your protectors and your firefighters and your exiles would have developed at a period when you were not able to protect yourself, like I said earlier, when you were young. But as you grow up, they don't necessarily recognize that you're in a different position. They don't necessarily recognize that you can protect yourself now and that you do have choices. So those intense, extreme reactions and behaviors are still occurring because your parts don't trust you, right? Or, I mean, there have been situations in my life where I basically like abandoned my own well-being in order to, like, say, stay in a relationship, okay? Or whatever. I abandoned myself for somebody else. So, I mean, in doing so, I showed my parts that, no, I'm not going to take care of my system. I'm going to take care of this other person. So, of course, they don't trust me. They don't trust you to make good decisions. They don't trust you to take care of them. So you can grow up, but they don't recognize you grow up, or they just don't trust you to take care of them. And that's why they come out, and they come out in force. So the work of internal family systems is being able to access your parts, communicate with them in a way, right? And show them that they can trust you, that you can lead. And so the you that I'm talking about, IFS calls the self with a capital S. Your self is who you really are. It's your true self. It cannot be injured. It cannot be hurt. It does not feel negative feelings, which is another thing that I kind of like. I was like, really? Like, I was thinking, yourself, your true self, must be kind of more of a balance of negative and positive. But the situation is that your true self, your self with a capital S, for me, I think of it as your, glowing light, right? Your life force or your soul or something like that. And it's that part of you that is, again, for me, connected to everyone else's self, right? And this grand self that some people might call God, but the life energy that is just in the universe and everywhere, right? So the goal of IFS is to develop that self and show your parts that self can take care of them, that self is going to make good decisions, that they can finally, back down and rest, and they can be what they, want to be, right? That they don't have to, like, say my angry part. She doesn't have to be so defensive, right? She can be a guide to say, you know, when my boundaries have been crossed. She can say, hey, that's not okay. She doesn't have to, you know, bare her teeth and all that kind of thing. She can just, you know, I think of it as like, you know, kind of whisper in your ear, hey, you might want to take care of that. Or say you have, you know, I have a tendency when I am stressed out or just kind of not feeling good that I want to, you know, eat unhealthy foods, basically, comfort foods, okay? And I also have another part that's like, hey, no, you shouldn't do that. That's not healthy, that just don't. And my challenge has been to take care of the part that wants comfort, right? Because that's totally legit. Yes, we've had a difficult time. You want to feel good. You want to feel safe and all that. And I also need to acknowledge and take care of the other part that's saying we need to take care of our body, right? Don't eat all that macaroni and cheese. Like, let's be healthy. Because they're both right, is the thing. So, in between those two parts, when you're in self, you would be able to consider this one and consider this one and then make a decision on your own from a healthy place that really, maybe it's a compromise, right? So compromise is a big thing in IFS. What was I gonna say? Oh, okay. The one thing I think that made the biggest impact on me though about IFS is the understanding that all of your parts want the best for you. So even the parts, you know, I haven't had to deal with this, but there's lots of examples in IFS, you know, texts about people who are drug addicts, right? You might have this part that is encouraging you or urging you to do these extremely self-destructive things. And you might, you know, if you had a moment of clarity, you might want to, you know, just, God, I don't want to be around that part. Like, it's bad, you know, get it away. But you have to understand that that part is trying to take care of you, and it's trying to take care of a specific need that you might have, but its strategy is unhealthy, right? Its goal and its needs are totally legitimate and loving towards you, but the way that it has learned to meet those needs is not. So that was big for me because I have definitely experienced a lot of frustration with my feelings and thoughts and needs and some of my behaviors in the past, and just being able to reframe that into, you know, this part just wants the best for me and it's doing whatever it thinks is going to work to get that, right? It allowed me to see those parts in a more loving way that I can even, like, so, you know, I keep on using the example of my angry part because she was the first one really that I identified, and I've had a lot more time to kind of, you know, envision her and all that kind of stuff. What was I saying? Oh, you know, it used to be a really scary thing for me when I got angry. When I was embodying this part, when she came to the fore and she was like, nope, I'm taking over now. It was really scary. And it was something that I, you know, obviously would try to avoid. It's not that I'm, you know, I would say I'm still trying to avoid getting really angry. But at this point, I think you could say in a way that, you know, I feel love for that part. Because she is trying so hard. She's trying so hard to protect me. And I can recognize that there is, you know, some desperation for her it's not a pleasant thing. She doesn't want to have to be so defensive, and she doesn't want to have to spend so much energy on trying to protect me. So I can see her with empathy now, and that has just helped me feel, just feel better about myself as a human being, and to recognize, let me just show you real quick. I'm just going to show you. This is the basically IFS manual that Richard Schwartz wrote. It's called No Bad Parts. And that is like the statement for IFS, is that there's no such thing as a bad part. Again, even the part that might have you addicted to drugs, or the part that has you overeating, or any of those difficult things that people go through. They're not bad. It's not something that you want to get rid of. And the more that you try to push a part away, the louder it's going to get anyway. So seeing that just really helped me kind of be okay with all of my parts, and to kind of settle with that, and then also recognize that they are hurting, and that it's my responsibility when I'm in self to take care of them, because they're young, and they don't have any other strategies. So anyway, yeah, IFS made a big difference for me, and there's all kinds of activities. There's all kinds of exercises that you can do where you kind of go inside and invite whatever part has something to say it. And it's a lot, like I said earlier, I struggled with I want to get to the bottom of things. That's how my brain works. And I want things to be concrete, or I have a part that wants things to be concrete. So I was just, and I talked to my therapist about it, and I figured it out, but I was like, okay, but where are they, and what are they? And if I'm listening to a part, is that just me thinking, or is it the part talking? So kind of in a better place with it now. But in the exercises, you go inside and you can ask a part, or ask any part, hey, I'm here to listen. Anybody have something to say? And you will get messages, so to speak, where like there have been times when I've sat down, it's like meditating, and done that and opened myself up to whoever needed to talk. And you'll notice like sometimes a physical sensation. For me, I will notice if I'm feeling anxious, if my heart's beating really fast, or if I'm just tense. That's a part. That's a part that, because it's a sign for you. Hey, something's going on that needs to be addressed. Or if I'm experiencing like repetitive thoughts or spiraling, right? Mm-hmm. That then if I can quiet everything else down and let that part speak, it's easier for me to understand what's going on and what it needs. But throughout my day at this point, I've been able to, I've been doing this for a while now. I'm able to recognize when a part has come to the fore, and it's often a part that I know, because they come out all the time. But what it allows me to do, like I said before, is to meet it with empathy, mm-hmm. and love, and even just recognizing, oh, this isn't myself. This isn't my true self. It's not actually who I am at my core. This is a part that is trying to protect me. Mm-hmm. It allows me to step back from it a little bit, Mm-hmm. And anytime that you have perspective, it's better. But yeah, just throughout my daily life, like if I'm driving and I get irritated at somebody, I can be like, okay, all right, I hear you. You're feeling violated, right? If somebody cuts you off or something like that, you're feeling violated, I hear you. And oftentimes, just acknowledging the part will make it kind of go like, okay, cool, I can relax now. Like, you've gotten the message, mm-hmm. We're good. Mm-hmm. And then you can move on. You know, and then I wanted to say too that not all parts are holding negative feelings or unhelpful behaviors. So, you know, just in the last maybe 6 or 7 years of my life since I've been with Aaron, honestly, I have been able to let this young girl part of me come out that likes sparkly things and fancy dresses and, you know, all that kind of like really fun stuff that a lot of little girls like, and that I had kind of been ignoring and maybe shoving aside a little bit. But she's here now, and you know, much happier, and definitely I've been enjoying getting to know that part better and being able to take care of her, and you know, because she's fun, right? Mm-hmm. So you have parts like that too that are fun, and if you can be with them, you know, and let them know it's safe and that you want to hang out, then you know it can really enhance your life, obviously, and for me it made me feel more whole. Mm-hmm. You know, and less constrained, and she has, you know, it's more fun to have fun. So yeah, I guess that's kind of really like my experience of internal family systems, and I don't know everything about it by any means, and I'm very much still on the journey, and I expect that it's going to be pretty much the rest of my life. I mean, I would like to think that there will be a point where I'm in self all the time, but if I don't get there, then that's okay too, because I'm learning about my parts and I'm learning about what they need, and it feels really good to be able to meet them with love and take care of them. So yeah,
beautiful. Thank you so much. I feel like I learned a lot more about it too, and it just felt healing to hear you explain it all, and hear you say that you have this love for all your parts. I really loved hearing that they all mean well. They're all trying to help you in some way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for me, you know, there have been times in my life when I have felt really alone, and like I didn't have anybody else there to protect me. Mm-hmm. And so looking back on those times, in retrospect, I can say, well, I wasn't really alone. I had these parts that were fighting so hard to keep me safe. So, you know, they were there and they were loving me when maybe I felt like nobody else was. Yeah. Oh, and then one other thing actually I wanted to say, and again, I'm not like really good at this yet, but it has also kind of changed my perspective on other people, because I can recognize now that if you're in conflict with someone, you're not dealing with their self, you're dealing with their protective parts, which, you know, again, it allows me to meet them with more empathy, because I can see that their system is feeling so threatened that these protectors need to come out. And I understand what that's like at this point. So it lets me feel more empathetic, more forgiving, and just, not quite so defensive. I don't take things quite as personally anymore. So it can also be helpful in your relationships too.
Yeah. Which is great. Yeah. Awesome. What was I gonna say? Okay, so I was gonna answer the question as well.
Yeah.
Where internal family systems, I've learned a lot from what you've told me. I've also done some research on it as well, because I like looking at all the healing modalities that can help you heal. I've done, so if I have to choose one, that a healing modality that has helped me the most, it's kind of hard for me, because I definitely had several that have all helped to together eventually along
Yeah,
the way,
integrated
right?
them.
Integrated them, or just maybe at one point in my life, one was very helpful. Another point in my life, another one was really helpful. I've done so in my younger years. I was 16 when I started journaling, and it was suggested to me to journal, so because that would help me process the emotions and become aware of emotions. And so I did that for several years. And like I said, I started at 16, and I had a lot to say. So it helped me cope, get some stuff out,
Right.
and kind of acknowledge it and not stuff it down so much, right? So journaling was a big one. I've done a lot of inner child work, like meditations with a counselor. And the inner child work definitely reminds me of Inner Parts with the IFS. So, and there's been moments that it seems like I've been able to integrate a certain part, right? Where I think the therapist has asked me just to go back to either a memory or or maybe a recent trigger, a recent situation, and then I kind of ask myself, oh, how old do I feel in that moment? And at times I've gotten it's 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old could range, right? And in the inner child work, I've been able to many times be like, remind them that inner child aspect that I'm an adult now. I'm doing my best to try to take care of me, us. And I found a lot of times like that inner part just had to be wanted to be seen, either in the grief, the sadness, or the anger, and sometimes just the good cry, honestly. And so journaling, inner child work, and then there was like a good year, about a couple years ago, I did the completion process, which I think I've talked to you about it, but it's been a long time since I've talked to you about it. The completion process was created by Teal Swan, and you can find a lot of videos on YouTube about her and about the completion process. And it also reminds me of IFS work, because I had a friend that was trained in the completion process, and I would have sessions with her, and she would, I basically would like lay down, relax, kind of get into meditative state, and she would ask certain questions that would basically a part would come out, right? And it could be 10-year-old, it could be any age, right? And the point with the completion process was to listen, like my friend would listen to me, listen to what I had to say. And a lot of times it sounded like younger parts of me coming up and voicing that they were really scared, that they were like really sad, really scared, didn't know what to do, kind of thing. And then my friend was just very, like holding the space, creating the space, very empathetic, listening, and saying that makes sense. Saying that makes sense, validating me and validating that part of me, just saying that makes sense that you feel that way. And it felt very, and then those parts felt very seen. And then towards the end of the completion process, after it felt like that part was heard, that had all it had to say, said all that it had to say, invited into my safe space, which was like a big tree house, and then asking that part, are you ready to come into my heart? And so I was going to ask you if that was similar to the internal family system. So, and what I found is a lot of times my parts were like, they were ready to come into my heart, into my like whole self, and I would just envision them coming, like giving them a hug, letting them step in, right?
Yeah.
And kind of where they could live in my heart space more, I guess.
Yeah, in a safe
Right?
place.
In a safe space.
Yeah.
Or if they weren't quite ready, I could leave them in that treehouse.
Yeah.
That was fun. And then certain younger parts would be like, well, I want a bunch of cats here.
Yeah.
I want a bed. I want to jump on it.
Right. Yeah.
And so just really trying to meet those inner parts, those inner children, their needs, and it's a lot of imagination. It feels like, and a lot of, because there's been times where I'm like, am I imagining this, or is this really happening?
I've had exactly the same experience.
And then it's like, does it matter if it's your imagination?
That's right, too, as well.
Or does it matter if it's your imagination, or does it matter if it's really happening?
Yeah.
Like, it
What's
can't
really
hurt.
happening
It can't hurt because it's all about healing.
Exactly.
So I have found, right?
Yes.
So I was gonna ask you with that. So it was the completion process, and I felt that really helped me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so I was gonna ask you if that is very similar with the internal family system. Do you try to integrate your parts, or do you allow them to just live, what's the word? Coexisting with you.
So integration is the goal.
Okay.
And
so it's very similar to the completion process.
And in that way, what it means is that, it's called internal family systems because you're viewing your parts and your whole internal system as a family, right? Mm-hmm. And you yourself as the loving, healthy, protective parent, right? So ultimately what you want is for the system, meaning all of the parts, to be coherent and to work in harmony and to, like I said, trust you. So yes, it's very much, and when you were doing this, I was thinking, that's it, is that, you want to get to a point where you are holding your parts and that they're like, okay, cool, we're safe. Mm-hmm. And actually when you were talking about the treehouse, visual, that's something that's used in IFS as well, where they're like, okay, imagine a safe, like a room. Yeah. Put everything in there that would make you happy. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you can imagine this whole thing, and that is, you can ask your parts to come into that room, and have a conversation or just hang out, because it feels, good. It's very similar, actually.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, my safe space was like this huge redwood tree, and there's a room inside
the
tree.
Cool, yeah.
Not like a tree house that's apart, like just up in the
it's
treetop.
In the tree.
It's the tree itself.
Yeah. Nice, that does sound wonderful.
Yeah. But yeah, so I love the similarities too of the inner child work that I've done, the completion process. It all blends in beautifully. Yeah, just different.
Sure.
Maybe they just go about a little differently.
Different words,
but I think with the same goal to heal and become whole,
absolutely.
More whole, feel more whole.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you, in the sense of it helps me understand like the protective parts of me. Like, oh, it's the protective part. Okay, this week she's been very short-tempered and she's coming out. What is she trying to tell me? And it kind of gives me a signal like, oh, maybe you need to rest more, or maybe you need to lessen your commitments, or meditate more, or just sit with her more, see what actually is happening. And then maybe more stuff will come up, because I try to meditate where I just sit, close my eyes, on a daily basis. I don't always do it consistently, but I do try to. And what I have found that there's sometimes in my meditations where I'll sit there and I'm just breathing, my mind is full of thoughts and all that, right? And it's fine. It still somehow helped me. I feel like it at least helped me. There's other times that it's like those are the times that my parts, or like certain emotions are coming up, or certain memories will pop up, and it's to heal. And it seems like, oh well, she's finally sitting and quiet, like
we have a chance now.
We have a chance now. And then like I'll do my best to comfort myself. I mean, it's not like I'm always able to do it, but I've gotten a lot better at feeling a lot more compassion, and I'll remind my parts, like, I'm 42. I don't live with that person anymore. I have free will. I can make different choices, or and sometimes I'll feel that relief of like, oh, okay.
Right.
Or I'll be like, it's okay, makes sense. And sometimes I won't get clear answers. Maybe I'll say, oh, how old, like if I got triggered with something, I'll be like, okay, how old did you feel at that moment? And sometimes I'll get like 3-year-old or 5-year-old. And maybe I'll just get the sense of like, she's really scared.
Right.
Like
Sometimes
maybe
it's
an
just
age,
a
and
vague
maybe
thing,
like a very vague. And maybe
Yeah.
because when you're that young, you don't remember all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so, and sometimes just knowing that and acknowledging it makes me feel better. And sometimes I think I just needed a good cry, and I'll just let myself cry and be like, feel it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Feel it, and just like, okay, it makes sense that you feel sad. It's okay. Let's just cry, and then I feel better.
Yeah.
So,
right.
yeah.
The acknowledgement is huge.
Yeah.
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
And also being able to sit with that emotion and not try to get rid of it. Like to be like, okay, cool, let's do this together. You know, I'll share your burden. Let's fucking feel sad.
That's okay.
Let's
You
feel
can say,
sad.
you can say the F word.
Okay.
It's okay.
You know, just being able to like, you know, because if you try to push an emotion away, then that's the equivalent of saying I don't want you here.
Yeah.
Which really hurts your you know, inner children.
Of course.
So if you can, you know, in a sense, put your arm around them and say, okay, cool, we're gonna do this together.
Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I definitely, anger used to be a very uncomfortable emotion where I would just avoid it at all costs. In my younger years, teenage years, even in my 20s. But, and now, as I've gotten older and really know and gotten comfortable with feeling emotions, right? To a certain extent, there is a sort of like, oh, I feel, oh my gosh, feeling anger. It doesn't necessarily feel comfortable, but I'm more accepting of it, and I know it's trying to tell me something, and I don't push it down like I would have before, right? And then, but also like, okay, anger is a moving energy, so I'm like, okay, how can I use this to benefit my life right now? Because you can really use your anger and anger and rage.
It's got movement in it.
For great, beautiful things to make, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, it can push you to speak a boundary if you need it, and you can do it if you've had practice, hopefully, too, with it, like I have. You could set your boundary with grace, but also with directness.
Yeah, be firm.
Like, this is what, you can't talk to me like that, for example.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me feel good. You can explain it another way for me.
Yeah.
And just really be like, I'm not going to put up with that.
Be clear.
And I don't need to.
Yeah. Right.
So, and then sadness and grief, I've become way more comfortable too over the years with knowing that grief, it's a normal thing. Sadness is a normal thing. And there's pearls, there's gifts in all of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And we human beings are emotional beings for a reason. It's not like we just have these emotions for nothing. It's an emotional guidance system, and I remember learning that many years ago and being like, oh wow, it's an emotional guidance system. Why didn't the adults tell me this when I was little?
Seriously, right?
Like, oh, emotions are here to help you. Great.
Imagine
that would have made my life so much better.
Gosh,
To navigate it, right? And to feel not so alone in it. What was I going to say with that? With the emotions. But yeah. Sir, anything else you want to add to that part before we move on to the next question?
think I'm good.
You good? Okay.
I feel like I've
Great.
went on and on.
Good. All right. So, this one's feels like a lighthearted one. What is one thing you think your inner child is proud of you for in your adult life?
Yeah. So I have sat with this one a bit, and I think really for me it's my inner teenager, which I guess is still a child. There was a point in my life when I thought that I would just never do anything, never have any experiences. Honestly, I was very isolated then, and I think that 15 or 16-year-old me now, seeing the things that I've done and the places I've been, and finished grad school, and I've traveled around the world. I went to Burning Man, all this kind of stuff. Those experiences, if I could go back and be like, hey, you know what, actually, you're gonna do some really cool stuff, I think that I would have been stoked and really relieved. And I definitely like to think that, and I've talked to her a little bit, but definitely that part of me would be, and hopefully is, proud of the things that I've done as an adult, because she didn't think that any of that was even possible.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Beautiful. Yeah, so as you were saying that, I was listening and thinking about probably one of the things that stuck out is my art. And so, it seems like there's several parts of me, inner children parts, probably inner teenagers too, that would be proud of me for all the art that I have painted and drawn, because it brings me so much joy.
Right.
And I also feel at times many times when I'm drawing or painting, it seems like there are other parts that are coming to the forefront, and they're also influencing what I draw.
Right.
What I draw, what I paint, how I do it. And it seems like they'd be really proud of wow, you've been able to make all this beautiful
stuff,
fantasy art, draw, paint animals and stuff like that. Yeah, so
definitely.
I think that's what pops up. Yeah. All right, and then the next question is, what is a core value or some core values you have for yourself? Examples are authenticity, integrity, growth, respect, empathy.
Authenticity is a big one for me. And I can't say that I'm always there 100%, because there are still parts that come in and are like, hey, don't do that. Even if it's something that would be authentic and in my best interest. But it has been very important to me to be honest and truthful about my feelings and my experiences, and to really try as much as I can to embody myself, and to present who I really am to the world. So authenticity is huge, and it's something that I still kind of struggle with because of those protector parts, I think. But I really, really value it, and I value it in other people. Empathy, of course, I think, but I feel like I've kind of got that one down mostly. Curiosity too, I think is important for me. I value it in myself, and definitely other people who are just interested in things, or want to learn. That's a huge one for me. Yeah. What values do you hold?
Let's see. Many. Let me. Growth is a really good one. I've been very proactive with self-improvement, self-healing. It's really since 2010, 2011. So when I was really started to become aware, okay, let me learn all this stuff. learning, growth, curiosity. It seems like they all go hand in hand.
For sure.
I'm very naturally curious. It makes life fun.
Yeah, right.
It makes life fun, and sometimes I want to know it all.
Totally.
And I really value intellect and wisdom, and authenticity. Yes, that's a big one for me. And with authenticity, it's like, yes, I want to be honest with myself, my needs, my values, my wants, and how I come across, how I interact with people. I want it to be rooted in integrity. And I think I've also struggled with that a little bit, in the sense of like, I also am a big believer of there's certain people to have discernment with how close you let people get to you, and which people are trustworthy people, and have earned that trust to get close to you.
Right, to really
And
see
so
who
with
you are.
authenticity, that's where I really open up, right?
Right.
But then also have like these concentric circles, right? And there's some people that need to be on the outer circles,
For sure.
right?
Yes.
And are more like an acquaintance.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's not, I think when I struggle with the idea of authenticity is like, well, with an acquaintance, you're not gonna let them know everything about you,
No,
right?
right.
But I still think you can embody your authenticity
Yeah.
and still show up.
Not be completely vulnerable.
Yes.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Totally
Yeah.
get that.
Okay. And then let's see. What fulfills you? What fills your cup?
Creativity, definitely. I love to make art, or crafts. I have a lot of different projects going on. Quiet time in a beautiful place is a big thing for me, and I get a lot of that from the garden. In the backyard. Yeah, quiet and calm is a huge one for me. I really have to have that downtime in order to just function as a human being. Definitely, I don't know what the word is. It's revitalizing for me. As some people get that kind of energy from social activity, I really need to be like alone and quiet. Yeah, so creativity. A little bit of solitude at times. Definitely just being out in nature, being in beautiful places, like I said. Yeah, I think that's really what does it for me, and that's what I go to if I am stressed out or tired, or just burnt out, and I have the self-energy to recognize that I need to take care of that in a healthy way, then yeah, I'll go into my studio and work on some art, and it'll just be quiet, and it'll just be me and my dog. So yeah, definitely. What do you turn to?
Similar to you, nature is the first one that popped in to my head. Walking in nature, so movement, walking in nature, and I'll just look up at all the trees, kind of like a walking meditation at times, where I unplug from my phone and we'll just go like on a 20-minute walk around the neighborhood, looking at the trees, trying to see if I can identify them sometimes, or just admiring the beauty, being present with nature, seeing all the flowers, going to Upper Bidwell and being really immersed in nature there, listening to the water. It all really relaxes my nervous system, so that definitely fills my cup. And then, of course, drawing, painting, trying a new way of making my art, that really fills my cup. and brings me joy. That brings me really joy. It gets me excited. And having nourishing relationships with a handful of good friends, like really good, beautiful women that where we share similar core values. And definitely knowing when I need my quiet time as well, like you're saying, and when I'm meditating, going on my walks regularly, connecting with nature, doing all the things that fills me. That's when I'm functioning at an optimal level.
Right. Totally.
Right. Yeah. And then for our last question, are there any pearls of wisdom that you want to share? Which you already shared a lot.
I did.
Or anything you want to speak about?
I guess, just to emphasize again, that I think for me, and I would assume it could be helpful for other people, is to recognize your really strong emotions or protective reactions or things like that as a part or an energy that is trying to help you. It's not a bad thing. It's not inherently a bad thing. It's something that really can be beneficial if you can meet it with empathy and love. And in that way, by meeting those parts with love, you are also loving yourself, and it can allow you to have a lot more grace and forgiveness with yourself, which is always healing. And again, if you can recognize that everybody has parts, so if you're dealing with somebody who's maybe in a bad mood, that's not their self, that's not who they actually are. It's a part that has come out to try to protect them, just like your parts protect you, and it can allow you to kind of see it in a different perspective.
Yeah. Beautiful, thank you.
Of course.
I really enjoyed this.
Me too.
These conversations. I just hope this helps whoever is watching this. I hope you can take some of this knowledge and help you in your life and on your healing journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Until next time.